When the news broke that Brooke Bailey had confirmed she was expecting Jim Jones' baby, the entire entertainment world stopped, and no one was hit harder than Chrissy Lampkin. For years, Chrissy and Jim's relationship had been the backbone of love and hip-hop. Story of loyalty, love, and endurance through public scrutiny. But this revelation felt like betrayal in its purest form. Sources say Chrissy first heard whispers online before a friend called to confirm what had already gone viral. Brook Bailey, radiant and confident, had shared the news on her live stream, and the internet was already piecing the story together. Chrissy's reaction was raw. Witnesses close to her described her as heartbroken, pacing in disbelief. Unable to process how the man she'd stood by through every scandal could let something like this happen. Tears streamed down her face as she replayed clips of Brooke smiling, her hand resting on her stomach, talking about new beginnings. Jim's silence made it worse. For years, he had promised Chrissy commitment, loyalty, and respect. But now, all of that seemed shattered. Social media went into chaos. Fans demanded answers, tagging Chrissy in every post, flooding her page with sympathy and anger. Some called for her to leave Jim for good, while others accused Brooke of chasing clout. Meanwhile, Jim kept quiet, no posts, no denials, no explanations. Chrissy, once known for her composure, couldn't hold back anymore. Cameras later captured her in tears, whispering, "After all these years, after everything we built, this is how he repays me." It wasn't just a breakup, it was the collapse of an empire built on love, loyalty, and heartbreak. The moment the story hit the blogs, it felt like an earthquake across social media. Chrissy Lampkin's phone wouldn't stop buzzing, texts, notifications, and calls all pouring in at once. At first, she ignored them, assuming it was just another rumor. She and Jim Jones had survived countless headlines, countless lies meant to tear them apart. But this time was different. The headlines were too specific, the details too precise, and the source too familiar. Brook Bailey, the model and reality TV personality, has gone live on Instagram, looking glowing, confident, and undeniably pregnant. When a fan asked who the father was, Brooke smiled, hesitated, and simply said, "Let's just say it's someone y'all already know very well." That one sentence was all it took. Within hours, the internet had done its detective work, and all fingers pointed straight to Jim Jones. Chrissy's heart dropped when she saw Brooks's live clip trending. The comments were filled with speculation. Wait, is she talking about Jim? Didn't he and Chrissy just do an interview together? No way, this is real. The disbelief quickly turned into chaos when a popular gossip page posted a screenshot of a message allegedly from Brooke's close friend confirming, "Yes, it's true. Brooke is expecting Jim's baby." The post went viral instantly. In her living room, Chrissy sat frozen, staring at her phone. For years, she'd stood by Jim through everything, his career, ups and downs. The rumors, the constant questions about why they hadn't tied the knot. Every time she told herself love was enough. But this was different. This was a wound she couldn't patch with loyalty. He wouldn't, she whispered to herself, but deep down a painful voice said, maybe he did. Jim was nowhere to be found. His phone went straight to voicemail. He hadn't been home since the previous night, and Chrissy had assumed he was in the studio. Now, she wasn't sure what to believe. When she finally called his manager, all she got was a hesitant response. "I think you should talk to Jim directly." That silence spoke volumes. Meanwhile, social media was exploding. Fans began digging up old photos of Jim and Brook together from years ago industry events. Red carpet appearances, casual parties. Nothing had ever seemed inappropriate, but now every image was being reinterpreted through a new lens. "They always had chemistry," one fan commented. "I knew something was off when Brook kept mentioning Jim in interviews." Another wrote, "By midday, every gossip blog had the story front and center. Brook Bailey confirms pregnancy, Jim Jones named his father." Read one headline. Another shouted, "Chrissy Lampkin heartbroken after years of loyalty." Videos of Brooke smiling softly at the camera played on repeat. Her caption read, "Sometimes life surprises you in ways you never expected." The comments were merciless, half congratulating her, half accusing her of destroying another woman's home. Brook didn't respond to any of them. When Chrissy finally broke her silence, it wasn't through an interview or a statement. It was a simple Instagram story. A black background, white text. Loyalty hits different when it's one-sided. That post alone sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Fans flooded her comments with messages of support. "You deserve better, girl. Leave him for good. He's been playing with you for too long." The outpouring of sympathy was immediate. But behind that post, Chrissy was breaking. Friends close to her said she spent hours crying, alternating between anger and disbelief. She just kept saying, "I gave him everything." One insider revealed, "She sacrificed so much for that man." Indeed, Chrissy had built her life around Jim's career, supporting him even when he wasn't showing up for her emotionally. She had been patient, waiting for the ring, waiting for stability, waiting for the commitment she thought would eventually come. But now it felt like everything she had invested had been for nothing. Later that evening, the paparazzi caught Jim leaving a restaurant in New York. When reporters asked about Brook's pregnancy, he said nothing, just lowered his head and got into his car. That silence said more than any denial could. Within minutes, the footage was online, captioned, "Jim Jones refuses to address pregnancy rumors." The public's opinion turned sharply against him. If it wasn't true, he'd deny it, one fan commented. "His silence is his confession." Another added, "By midnight, Chrissy was alone in the apartment they shared. The city outside buzzed with noise, but inside, everything was quiet, too quiet." Her mind replayed every memory, every promise, every time Jim said he'd changed. She thought about the countless interviews where she defended him, the times she said she was proud of their journey even without marriage. Now all those words felt hollow. She opened her phone again, this time scrolling through Brook's latest post. Brook looked radiant, dressed in white, her hand protectively placed over her belly. The caption read, "New beginnings and blessings I didn't see coming." That was the final blow. Chrissy dropped her phone, tears spilling down her cheeks as she whispered, "After everything I've given, this is how he repays me." By morning, the internet had crowned Chrissy as the face of heartbreak. Memes, commentary videos, reaction clips all focused on her pain. Everyone was waiting for her next move. Would she confront Jim publicly? Would she walk away for good? Or would she, like so many times before, forgive him one last time? No one knew, but one thing was clear this time. Something in Chrissy Lampkin had changed forever. The woman who once stood by Jim Jones no matter what was gone. In her place was someone broken, but on the verge of becoming something stronger. The chaos surrounding Brook Bailey's shocking revelation. Later that afternoon, Chrissy finally decided to step outside. Cameras caught her wearing oversized sunglasses, head down and visibly emotional as she entered her car. Within hours, the photos were plastered across every gossip site with headlines like "Chrissy Lampkin seen in tears after Jim Jones baby scandal." The public sympathy was overwhelming. Fans filled her social media with thousands of messages. "Stay strong. You're too good for this. He doesn't deserve you." But beneath the surface, Chrissy was torn between rage and disbelief. That evening, she called Jim one last time. This time, he answered. The call was short, tense, and filled with emotion. "Just tell me it's not true," she said, her voice trembling. There was a long pause. Jim sighed heavily, the sound of regret in his tone. "Chrissy," he said softly, "I don't want to do this over the phone." That was all she needed to hear. She hung up before he could say another word. Her heartbreak turned into fury. "After everything I sacrificed for him," she said later to Emily, "he didn't even have the decency to tell me himself." Years of loyalty, patience, and love felt meaningless. She had defended him against the world through the cheating rumors, the proposals that never led to a wedding, the endless cycle of promises broken and repaired down now. It had all come crashing down in public humiliation. Meanwhile, Brook was living in her own storm. While she basked in the attention, she also faced brutal backlash. Her comments section was filled with insults and accusations. "Homewrecker, clout chaser, how could you do this to another woman?" flooded her page. But Brook didn't flinch. In a follow-up post, she wrote, "You can't steal what was never claimed." The cryptic message was taken as a direct jab at Chrissy, and the internet went wild again. That night, Chrissy's anger boiled over. She went live on Instagram, something she rarely did, her voice shaky but determined. "Let me just say this once," she began. "I've been loyal, I've been patient, and I've been silent about a lot of things I could have said. But silence doesn't mean weakness. I've loved that man for years, and I've stood by him when everyone told me not to. But there comes a point when love ain't enough. I'm not gonna sit here and let anyone play in my face." Her words cut deep, raw, emotional, and real. Fans flooded the live with hearts and supportive comments. Within minutes, the clip went viral. The next day, Jim finally spoke out in a brief statement to TMZ. "It's complicated," he said quietly, "but I'll handle it privately." That vague answer only made things worse. Privately, fans snapped. "You humiliated her publicly." The damage was done. Chrissy spent the following days surrounded by close friends and family, trying to keep her mind occupied. But everywhere she went, she saw reminders of Jim photos, memories, even the music they'd shared. The emotional weight was crushing. "She's not just sad," Emily confided to a reporter off the record. "She's grieving. It's like mourning a relationship that died long before she admitted it." As the week went on, new reports surfaced suggesting that Brook and Jim had been seeing each other secretly for months. Even before her pregnancy announcement, allegedly, they'd met through mutual friends at a private event in Los Angeles, and things had just happened. Whether that was true or not didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that Chrissy felt betrayed beyond repair. When asked if she planned to stay with Jim, Chrissy gave a simple answer during a short interview outside her home. "I'm done protecting people who don't protect me." Her words echoed across social media, sparking debates about loyalty, love, and self-worth. Fans hailed her as a symbol of strength, but behind closed doors, she was still in pain, trying to figure out how to heal when the whole world was watching. And as Brook's belly grew and Jim remained silent, Chrissy's next move became the question everyone was asking. Would she finally walk away for good, or would the history she shared with Jim keep her trapped in the cycle one last time? One thing was certain: Chrissy Lampkin was done being quiet, and this time, the world was listening. By the third week, the storm surrounding Chrissy Lampkin, Jim Jones, and Brook Bailey had evolved into something much bigger than a scandalette, had become a public reckoning. Everyone had an opinion. Every outlet had an angle. But behind all the noise, Chrissy was slowly learning how to breathe again. The initial shock had given way to a painful calm. The tears still came, but they weren't as frequent. Instead, she found herself reflecting on love, loyalty, and the years she had devoted to a man who could never seem to choose her completely. Friends close to her noticed the change. "She's not as broken as before," Emily said quietly. "She's angry, but she's also clear. It's like she finally sees everything she ignored." And she wasn't wrong. Chrissy had spent 2 decades loving Jim, believing that one day he would meet her halfway. She had been the backbone of his career, the partner who defended him in public and forgave him in private. But this betrayal was different. It wasn't just about another woman. It was about realizing that the future she had imagined would never exist. Jim, meanwhile, was struggling under the weight of public backlash. Fans who once idolized him now criticized his silence, calling him a coward for not defending either woman. The paparazzi hounded him daily, asking for comments. His social media pages were flooded with demands for the truth. But he said nothing. When he was finally spotted outside a recording studio, he looked drained, haunted even. Reporters shouted questions as he got into his car. "Jim, is Brook really pregnant with your baby? What about Chrissy?" He ignored them, his face unreadable. But the guilt in his eyes told the story his words wouldn't. Then came the bombshell. Brook Bailey confirmed her pregnancy in a magazine feature, posing for glossy photos in a cream dress, her belly prominent. In the interview, she didn't name Jim outright, but made her intentions clear. "I'm entering a new chapter in my life. This baby is a blessing, not a scandal," she said. The interviewer pressed her gently about the rumors, and Brook smiled faintly. "Sometimes people fall in love with complicated people. I'm not here to destroy anything. I'm just embracing what's real." The quote went viral instantly, reigniting the firestorm. Chrissy saw the cover while scrolling late one night. Her chest tightened, but this time she didn't cry. She just whispered, "Good luck with what you think is real." She had spent too long living in the shadow of someone else's decisions. This time, she was choosing herself. The next morning, Chrissy did something no one expected. She booked a flight to Miami. She didn't tell anyone except Emily. The cameras caught her at the airport, dressed simply in jeans and a hoodie, sunglasses hiding her expression. "I need space," she told the one reporter who managed to approach her. "I need peace." That one sentence sent her fans into overdrive. "She's done for real this time," one blog posted. Chrissy's walking away. In Miami, Chrissy found solace in solitude. Away from the noise, she reconnected with herself. She started journaling, taking long walks by the ocean, and focusing on her own happiness for the first time in years. Months later, Chrissy returned to New York a different woman. The heartbreak hadn't disappeared, but it had transformed her. She began speaking at women's empowerment events, sharing her story not as gossip, but as a lesson in knowing your worth. "I lost myself loving someone who wasn't ready to love me back," she told one audience. But sometimes losing yourself is what it takes to find out who you really are. The room erupted in applause. Chrissy Lampkin had turned her pain into power. The same woman who once cried over betrayal was now standing on stages, telling other women to never settle for less than they deserve. She'd found peace, purpose, and herself again. And though her story with Jim Jones had ended, her new chapter had just begun, one not defined by heartbreak, but by healing. If Chrissy Lampkin's story moved you, let it remind you that strength doesn't always roar sometimes. It whispers in the silence after heartbreak. She loved fiercely, stood loyally, and still found the courage to walk away when love no longer honored her worth. Her journey wasn't about revenge or regret, it was about rediscovery. The tears that once symbolized pain became the water that helped her grow into someone stronger, wiser, and finally free. Now it's your turn to take that lesson to heart. Don't stay where you're only half loved. Don't let fear keep you from choosing peace. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering who you are before the heartbreak tried to define you. Like Chrissy, you have the right to rebuild, to rise, and to smile again without apology. So if her story inspired you, share it. Let someone else know they're not alone in their pain. Subscribe for more stories of strength and resilience. And remember, love doesn't lose, it transforms. The real victory is choosing yourself, even when it hurts to let go.